Welcome, everybody, to the Inner Carnivore Podcast, episode 15, with my special guest, Laura, social media handle vegan turned carnivore, if that gives you any idea what we will be talking about today. Before we jump in, if you guys are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, do a huge favor. Subscribe to the show, like it, leave a review. That helps immensely. If you're watching the full video on YouTube, if you could comment, like, share, subscribe to the channel, all of that helps more than you guys know. And really appreciate all of the followers week in and week out that are along with us. So jumping right in, how are you doing, Laura?
I'm great, feeling energetic. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for following me and supporting me all the time. Like, I feel like since I joined the carnivore community that I'm in the family, I'm not alone, and then I get attacked every time there are some other people that attack the attackers. So I feel very welcomed.
Good.
So
That's
thank
good.
you for
I
me.
noticed that too. Like I didn't start because of the community. Uh, I started, out of my own volition, and when I finally just started to like get a social media presence, it took a little while, right? Obviously. And once you get past some of the like dogma gatekeepers, like it's amazing how many people are like, "Hey, I was just like you," or "I was worse than you," or all these things, and then it really does that form that tight knit community. And there is nothing better than having somebody come in and try to attack you, and then all of a sudden 5 or 10 of your followers just jump down their throats, and you're like, okay, you guys got this, I'll just let you guys have this for a little while.
In the beginning, after I posted the first few posts or the first few videos on my YouTube, like I was, oh my God, everybody's talking so badly. What do I do? I was taking it very personal and very seriously. But now okay, just let them talk, whatever. I am happy that I'm feeling great. I have never felt better in my life. And the reason why I even started Carnival, that was supposed to be like 30-day challenge, is not even the reason anymore. And honestly, I'm going to be 39 in less than 2 weeks' time. So I probably never felt that good as I'm feeling right now.
That's amazing. And so your social media handles kind of tell the whole story, vegan turned carnivore. uh Jumping back a little bit before that, how did you land on starting veganism, and how long were you vegan for?
So it all started, I would say, so I was vegan for 13 years. I started eating meat, let's say, in the beginning of this year. So it's almost 14 years from the beginning that I started. Uh, my main reason, I guess, it was because my uncle got ill. He got cancer at the age of 44, and he was always very healthy to my eyes. He was always working out. He was always in shape. He used to be even a professional sportsman when he was very young. And of course, that was a big trauma for all the family. He passed away after 2 years. He was ill. He died from cancer. And so I started looking into it and reading a lot of books and why healthy people at that young age basically start dying from cancer. And I guess I came to that book, The China Study, that is promoting very heavily the vegan diet. And I started reading books about the raw foods, about how many people heal diseases eating raw plant-based. And I don't exactly remember anymore exact day when and how it started, but I remember I was reading a little bit before that, and all my family went vegan vegetarian. So my mom, my dad, my sister, we kind of all jumped into that boat of eating healthier, let's say. In my house, it has never been a lot of processed foods. Plus, I always wanted, to get slimmer, to get more in shape. So I was going from one diet to another, to another, to another. So yes, I used to eat junk food, but I would say 80% of the time I tried to stay on a salad diet or fruit diet. Or because for 8 months of those 5 years I had been vegan in total, I was eating only raw plant-based. So I still remember how I was eating the massive bowls of, like, let's say I was doing cherry tomatoes and olives and eating just that massive bowl of that. Or, I don't know, a kilo of grapes. Or, I don't know, 5 apples. That used to be my lunch. Or like a pineapple. And I understand how, like, with what I know today, how unhealthy was that. And what I remember exactly, I stopped sleeping. I started sleeping like 4 or 5 hours a night. And I was feeling, oh, this is great. Like, I don't need to sleep anymore. But I believe that was the opposite. It wasn't a good not sleeping. It was that my body was so malnourished that I couldn't sleep, if it makes sense. And with time, of course, I started having iron deficiencies. I started being tired all the time. I had issues sleeping. I had some also immune diseases like some eczema or body itchiness that I don't know where it's coming from. But now I would say it's probably gluten sensitivity, because since I stopped eating gluten, and especially since I started carnivore journey, that has improved massively as well. So yeah, so I have been vegan for about 5 years, and then I started eating seafood and fish, and the rest of the 8 years, more or less, it was between vegetarian and pescatarian diet. But I wasn't feeling great.
So what prompted the switch from vegan to first pescatarian?
In a way, because I was living in Italy, and you can imagine how good is seafood and fish in Italy, and I was really missing it. And as well, the social life, especially like talking 10, 15 years back in Italy, it was hard. So wherever you go, being vegan was extremely difficult because you could not find anything on the menu. Everything will have at least cream or at least eggs. So, yes, being vegetarian, you can have a couple of dishes to eat on the menu. But being vegan, it's almost impossible. So, mostly, I guess it was social life that kind of made me eat fish again, and the fact that fish is very nice in Italy as well. And I guess my body also was wanting some more nutrients, and that's why I started craving it more and more. And another thing, cheese. I was craving cheese like, oh my god, it was unbelievable. And my sister was always telling me, because my sister, she's a nutritionist therapist, and she was saying, you're craving cheese because you are not eating enough protein. Yeah. So cheese and seafood, I guess those two things, that's why. And friends, because if I wanted to stay at home all the time, yeah, I could have continued. But after a while, you just don't have a choice of anything in the restaurants being vegan. I guess now it's slightly different because vegan diet gets pushed a lot, and you can find more and more places where you can find vegan foods. But it wasn't then.
Yeah, I totally get that. So how did you feel going from full vegan to pescatarian? And then what was the defining point that you decided to basically go from one side of the spectrum opposite to the other, go from pescatarian to carnivore?
So when I, of course, became pescatarian, it was a while ago, so I wouldn't recall exactly how I was feeling. But I guess my social life was improved at that point, and I also started feeling more energetic because I was having more nutrients as well, and more variety in my food in general. And going completely opposite direction from being vegan to then starting eating meat, first thing was that last year November, around November, I discovered that I was gluten intolerant. So by taking out all the grains of my diet, there was not much left to eat. Because if you are on a vegan or vegetarian diet, normally you eat a lot of rice, you eat a lot of grains in general, right? Because it's bread, pasta, noodles, and other things that's normally you would eat. So slowly, I started to eat maybe some chicken. I remember it was not me cooking it, but it was when I was visiting my sister. And by being nutritionist therapist, who also been vegetarian and vegan herself, years back, but she started eating meat a while ago. She was always convincing me, look, you will see, you will start feeling much better if you start eating meat. You will start feeling much better. So slowly, I guess I got convinced, and I started trying a little bit, but like I mentioned, it wasn't that I would cook it at home. It was just when I would be at her place. So the beginning of this year, I would say I was doing more like keto diet. So I was eating still some berries, I was eating cheese, I was eating fish, meat, and vegetables, and to the point where my sister as well, one day she convinced me, why don't you try carnivore? Because she has quite a few patients herself who she puts on the carnivore diet, knowing my issues of losing weight, knowing my issues of eczema and other things, and also mood swings, and that's how I decided and I agreed to do 30 days. And here we are, 160 plus days after.
I remember following you when you were doing the 30 days, and you're like, all right, so this is day, 26, and then you posted, you're like, it's going pretty well. And then I couldn't tell you if there was a specific time when I noticed that you were continuing, but then all of a sudden it's like, this is day 35. And I'm not super good at math, but that's more than 30, which means, and then all of a sudden, like, they just kept coming, and then it was just more and more. And I was like, okay, somebody found something that worked, and she's going to keep going with it. And that's awesome.
You know what it was? I said when I was doing 30 days, the first 2 weeks were really challenging and very hard. So because I started my carnivore 27th of June, and that was a few days after I came back from holidays. So, holidays are holidays. Normally you
Mm-hmm.
have an extra. So I wasn't eating gluten normally or any pastries, like normal pastries outside the house that I wouldn't make from the things that I could eat. But I had a croissant, I had a macaroon, I had an ice cream on that holidays. I had maybe an extra glass of wine as well. So I came back quite bloated and quite irritated, and my digestion wasn't that great in general because I was suffering from acid reflux. I was suffering from stomach cramps, like constant bloatedness. Um, so that was the reason why I kind of wanted to do those 30 days. And I started on the 27th of June for 30 days. So the first 2 weeks were really hard. I was feeling so low in energy. I was feeling even dizzy. Sometimes I was feeling like stomach sick, even. I was hungry. I was like, I couldn't even see meat. But then I couldn't work out because I just like, it seemed that my body would be double the weight I am. And then suddenly, 2, 3 weeks after, something happened, and like a massive switch where I started feeling great. I started to work out better. I stopped being hungry constantly. I stopped being anxious, irritated, depressed, and all that. Suddenly, my acid reflux disappeared. My eczema disappeared. My body itchiness disappeared. My bloatness disappeared. My joint pain disappeared. And I was like, something is happening here. And I decided, okay, maybe I can do 100 days at this point. Because I can't say to myself, because I have addictive mindset and I did have eating, like, now I can say I did have eating disorders for many years, and I can't say for myself I will do this forever, because I know my head will react in a strange way. But if I say, okay, 30 days passed, I can do another 70 days. So now my goal is to do 200 days, and then I'm pretty sure then it will go to 300 and so on, because like, it massively changed who I am. Like, I can finally say I'm like, I feel like a human being, somebody who doesn't need to think about food 24 hours a day, because food was my obsession, and was something like, I would eat well 80% of the time, but that 20% of the time, somebody would possess me where I could not control myself at all. So I would, of course, binge eat, I will overeat, I will eat entire chocolate maybe, I will eat way more than I need, and that would give me that gratification of those 5-10 minutes. But the 10 minutes after, I will be so down, because I will be blaming myself, I will be ashamed, I will be guilty. And that used to be always, like, I always remember myself like that. And it doesn't matter how much I would eat, I would always feel hungry. Now, for the first time in my life since I started being carnivore, after the first 2, 3 weeks, I know what it means to be satisfied. I know what it means to be, full, where I can even leave stuff in my plate. That has never happened before.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, so I was talking to somebody about that very thing, where when I would do like bodybuilding preps, you would eat everything, right? Like, you would eat all of the food that was in front of you, no matter what. And if there was extra pasta, you'd eat extra pasta. If there's extra rice, you'd eat extra rice. And now I can have as big a steak as I want, and I hit a point where I'm full, and then I just stop eating. Like, it doesn't matter how much is left. It could be 2 bites, it could be half the steak, it could be whatever it is. I eat, and then I'm full, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. Like, I don't feel like, I love steak. I could eat steak all day, every day, but there's nothing that possesses me to want to eat past that point of when I'm full.
I would say it's not that those desires disappeared 100% for me, but I gained something that I look to it and I say to myself, yes, I could have that 5 minutes gratification, but how I'm going to feel later? What is my long term purpose? And I just, for the first time in my life, had the willpower to say, no, I don't want to eat that, because I know that that will make me feel bad. I know that that would make me feel bad physically and mentally as well, because it will bring me back to depression, to feeling guilty, to feeling ashamed, to blame myself, and I just don't want that. So it's it's easier just not to taste those foods anymore, to not have that sweet taste in my mouth, And I guess what happened as well, like my taste has changed. So what used, like meat tastes sweet now. And I'm not craving like sweets anymore. Somebody last day asked me, okay, if you would like to eat a sweet, what that sweet would be. And I was thinking, and everything, like kind of, I was feeling that extreme sweetness in my mouth. And I said, I didn't even know what I would really like. So I know that this is a massive progress to me. Like, I have never been like that. Like, for me, sweets used to be something that definitely my addiction, and definitely something that I could not control myself.
It's so true that, you know, people, you hear the adage, like, are you a sweet or savory person, right? Like, if you're going to have, you know, indulge in something, would it be something sweet or something savory? And I don't think people understand how that changes when you start eating properly. Like, so I've always been a savory guy, like chips. You know, chips are probably like the number one thing. And then, you know, some sweets as well. But those would be my go to. And when I would do, like, I love when people talk about how restrictive this diet is. I'm like, I've done restrictive. Like, I've done restrictive for a very long portion of my life, or my adult life at least. And when I would do that, like, I would set in my calendar my cheat meal and I would plan out everything. And that was like the light at the end of the tunnel. Be like, oh man, I cannot wait for, you know, a giant burger and a whole thing of Oreos and some chocolate cake and a milkshake, and I'm going to eat the whole thing until I cannot move anymore. And then I'm going to feel terrible, but I'm going to feel happy for a minute. And then the next day is going to be weird, and then I'm just going to start this process all over again. And that's just, you get to this point where you feel like that's normal because you're restricting yourself. You're like, my body's saying I want to eat this. I'm telling it no. And then it builds up over time. And then when I do get to eat it, I just go crazy. And now, like, there's still times where, you know, Thanksgiving, I had some Thanksgiving food. There's still times where I'll indulge in that. But the times that I'm not, I don't think about it at all. So, like, for over a year, I was carnivore with a leaning towards animal based, where I'd eat some fruit and some honey. And every once in a while I would, you know, have a cheat meal. But that would build up. Like, I would think about it. Like, man, like, what are we going to do in our cheat meal? Like, okay, all right, this is going to be good. And then the longer I would go without, I would start to like crave it more and more until I had it. And then, you know, I just get your fix. And now, since going BBB&E, you know, beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, with zero carbs, for all the purists out there, I know there's trace carbs in some of these things, but from a nutritional label standpoint, zero carb, like, I don't crave that. Like, yeah, come Christmas time, you know, there's a few things that I'm going to eat and I have that planned, and that's fine. But there's no part of me that's like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait. I'm dying. The only thing that's getting me through is the thought of this absolute junk food at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I totally get you. And when I lived in Italy years back, I used to be a spinning instructor as well. And I don't know even how I was going. Like, probably my diet was around 1,200 calories. Every day I will have 2-3 hours of spinning lessons as a hobby. Then I will stay in the gym lifting weights for another hour, and then I will go swimming. At a certain point, I was preparing
Jeez.
for a triathlon that I never did because my body just surrendered one day. And I was running as well. So in a week, I would run 30 to 50 kilometers at the same time. And
Oh my gosh.
my weight didn't move a gram, actually. So with the same saying, calories in, calories out, this is the proof that is not right, because I was definitely under eating, over exercising to the point that I needed to stop doing everything because one day my knees just surrendered. I couldn't walk. But I know what you mean. So normally during like from Monday to Saturday, I would do salads diets. And then on maybe Saturday or Sunday, I would have a cheat meal. And then that will finish me being guilty, my eating disorders kicking in. So, of course, I couldn't help that food in my stomach. And that was a very, very bad cycle physically and emotionally. So, I totally understand you. Now, my cheat meal, you know what it is, my cheat meal? I used to eat a lot of cheese. So I treat cheese
Mhm.
now as a dessert. So I still like, I would say I'm pretty strict carnivore. So I eat only beef, chicken, fish, seafood, eggs, butter, cheese. And I put like a spoon of double cream in my coffee. So coffee is the only thing that is not carnivore. All the rest is carnivore. And so I really decreased the quantities of cheese I used to eat to now, and I treat it as a dessert. And my cheat days would be I whip like a little bit of double cream. So when you whip it, it becomes bigger, and maybe I add like a sprinkle of cinnamon in it. So that would be my cheat meal because I know if I would eat something, that would be the end. So I would rather not try even anything, even if it's Christmas, even if it's New Year's, even if it's my birthday coming. Uh, like honestly, I know that that would probably set me back and will bring my addiction back to food and to carbs and to sugars, where I will be not able to control myself again. And a lot of people were saying, "Oh, but you eliminated almost everything. How you can be so restricting? Maybe you should be a little bit, just eat in moderation. Just why vegetables are
Live a
bad?
little.
Why fruits are bad?" Like, and I try to explain. Look, for somebody who doesn't have addictive behavior, that's probably fine eating some veggies or some fruits or even some desserts, on birthdays occasionally. But for me, that I definitely do have that addictive behavior, I know that one thing, one piece of cake or one apple would set me back. And I will be maybe another month or another two where I will be completely out of control again. And especially because at work I do have all the sweets you can get in the gas station and all the drinks that you can get in the gas station that all my colleagues are constantly eating. So I never liked fizzy drinks, or the only thing I drink is sparkling water time to time. For the rest, I was never a lover of sodas and things like this. But chocolates, yes. And I would say to myself, okay, this week I'm not eating any chocolates. And then the week passed, it was enough one bite. And for another month, I would eat 3, 4 chocolates a day. So I know that even my Christmas, luckily enough, all my family is kind of ketovore, carnivore. So I know that it's going to be easier. It's not going to be any bread there or any normal cakes or any, things like that. And I always like doing healthier recipes, healthier cakes myself. So I'm now trying to find some ways to do even a carnivore cake. That, for example, I did one for my mom's birthday in September from the ingredients that I can eat. Yes, maybe it's not going to be sweet enough for somebody who eats sugar, but they can add some honey on it, for example. But I can eat it as well in this case.
That's such a good point. So I've interviewed quite a few people, and the one common theme that I get from everybody, like it's been everywhere from people losing, multiple hundreds of pounds and the same story where they recognize their addiction to you're now the third long-term vegan that's made the change to carnivore to just your normal everyday person that just decided, to give it a try. The one theme that I am seeing time and time again, almost without fail, is people start to understand what their body actually needs and wants. And once you understand that, it's not restrictive like people think it is. Like, you're not killing yourself to not eat it. It's not that hard. And for anybody that's struggling out there, I'm not downplaying the struggle, but it becomes significantly easier once you understand what your body actually wants and needs to not eat that stuff. So, for like example, I went to a kid's birthday party the other day, and it's the kids running around and the adults hanging out, and there's alcohol, there's pizza, there's cake, and I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, none of this looks like anything. Yeah, sure, it would taste good, but none of this looks like anything that I want to eat, because at the end of the day, it's not going to like fill me up. It's not going to like benefit me in any way. And I don't feel like it. Like, it's just, which is weird, because I remember being on restricted diets, like I've said, and I've said pretty much every one of my podcasts, where I remember, like, you feel that you're like, man, like, this is a struggle, but I have a stronger willpower. This isn't willpower to me. This is just my body recognizing what's good and what's not good. And you realize that your body does that with a ton of things, like working out or stuff like that. You're like, my body recognizes that it feels good. It's like the runner's high, right? My body recognizes it. My body wants to do it. It's the same with food. And spending years and years in fitness and nutrition, I don't think I ever talked to a single person of the thousands of people I worked with who that was their mindset, no matter what. Like, people have had great results, lost tons of weight, got in great shape. Nobody ever treated food that way. They just had been able to master their will over eating. And it's so much different here, where it's not mastering a will. It's just like, my body, I see that. My eyes say it's good. My body goes, yeah, bro, you don't want that. Like, move along. And then you're like, okay, yeah, maybe I don't want that. So it's super crazy to me that time and time again, this is the common theme that I'm seeing with people.
I believe that the major shift that happens in your head, because the reasons I started being carnivore, like I mentioned, is not anymore the reasons I continue. And I started because of my digestion, because I wanted to lose weight. And yes, I lost some weight. I lose 5 kilos, but it's not much, because most of the weeks my weight would be very stable. But even with that, I can see that my body shape changed. But what has changed the most is my mindset and my confidence. And every single time I look to the mirror to myself now, I don't hate that person anymore. I like what I see. And I know there can be improvements, of course. And that's why we do things, I guess. You can never be perfect. But like, it's amazing how differently I see myself. And even, talking to you right now, or doing Instagram, starting YouTube, I would have never had the courage before, because I would be very self-conscious of what people would think about me. And yes, when I was at school, I never was really fat. Like, my maximum weight was 90 kilos. That would be less than 200 pounds. So I'm not that person that's, was extremely obese and lost a lot of weight with carnivore and everything. But yes, I was bullied at school. So but I was slightly more rounded than other girls, specifically because I'm coming from Lithuania. So Lithuania, all the women 20, 30 years back used to be very, very skinny. Now things changing slightly, but you used to see just skinny girls on the streets, and I wasn't one of them. So, of course, that has created a lot of issues in me, being a teenager and growing up. That's why I guess my eating disorder started there, and I have had them for years. But now, like, I feel free. Like, I feel like I'm not thinking about my body anymore. Yes, it could be better, but I'm happy where I am. And I am doing everything that I can today to make myself mentally and physically better. Like, I read a lot of books. I started doing this carnivore, blindly because somebody told me. Like, I have like a list of doctors that I follow that promote carnivore diet, or somebody they promote just low carb diets, or somebody talks a lot about insulin resistance. So I have listened thousands and thousands, like not thousands, hundreds of hours of podcasts and YouTube, and read quite a few books as well about it. And had so many testimonials about people as well talking how they gain their life back. And even the fact that I'm not like, okay, I have makeup on my eyes, but I don't have any makeup on my face. And the cosmetics I use is basically tallow creams now that I could never
Mm-hmm.
imagine I would use that. Or tallow soaps, like, because automatically I started, like, I don't want any more chemicals in my life. So what I can do without, I choose to do, because I know that, you know, using those chemical creams and shower gels and this and that is just so harmful for our body, and it can mess up with hormones, it can mess up with so many things. And it's strange how you change your diet and then suddenly everything else around you start changing, like from your mood, from I completely got rid of my anxiety, of my depression, of my mood swings, where I will get up in the morning and I will be very high. And then 1 hour later, I would be so low that I wouldn't want to do anything or wouldn't have strength to do anything. Now my strength, like my energy levels are always constant. Even on the days where I decide to do 24 hours fasting or 48 hours fasting, I am still energetic. I still have energy even working out. And yeah, and especially my mood. That is the best thing that you can gain, I guess, because when you feel well in your head, when you're in the right headspace, everything else just comes easier, because you can do, conscious decisions, what to eat, how much to exercise. And I used to over exercise, like to the extremes. And I know that wasn't healthy for me. And now I guess, yeah, I do those workouts 3, 4 times a week, 35, 40 minutes, intense hit workouts. And I guess that's is enough. And my body's not hurting anymore. My joints are not painful anymore. I still feel, that I do exercise and I eat healthy and I'm full of energy. And that is the most important thing. But yeah, it is so bizarre how many things changes just by changing the
And
diet.
it's true. It's so hard to explain to people because you list off all these things, and again, I always reference back, and this is part of the reason I love conversations like this on Twitter, especially. Like Twitter is my one where I poke at people. Like I like to instigate on Twitter. I'll admit it. And one of the things is with my background, like I don't typically blast out my background that, I have degrees in sports medicine and like worked in the fitness industry and competed in bodybuilding. So I have a long history of being involved in this kind of stuff. And I've talked to tons and tons of people and worked with tons of people. And people don't understand that link between diet and the rest of your life. And prior to experiencing that, it's almost impossible. Like I would have never told you before. All of the times that I have physically changed my body and changed my diet and all of that stuff, I would have never told you outside of an extreme restrictive diet. I never would have told you that diet could affect you that way. And I got started for a similar reason. I was tired of the dad bod. I was, tired of not feeling good. Like that was, and I feel like that's so many people. They finally hit a point where they're like, I'm tired of not feeling good. Like I feel like there has to be something better because I shouldn't feel bloated every time I eat. I shouldn't be lethargic unless I have 4 cups of coffee. I shouldn't be sleeping meh. I feel like there should be more. And the moment you change the diet, like it's this domino. And yes, you can trace it all back to the diet, but when you're explaining this to other people, they're like, so if I eat one steak, I'm all of a sudden going to feel better. And you're like, boy, you're going to feel better. And then when you feel better, you want to move more. And when you move more, you feel better. And then all of a sudden you keep doing that, and then you sleep better, and then you have better energy. And then because you sleep better and because you have better energy, you want to move even more. And then it just dominoes so much. And then all of a sudden, because you've had all this energy, you've moved so much, and you are eating what you are supposed to, now all of a sudden you look better. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I can handle this. And then all of a sudden it just goes and goes and goes. And then you're like, I'm going to do this for 30 days. And then you're like, why would I stop? Like I've never in my life, I've dieted a lot. I have never in my life set a goal for a diet, got to the end goal, and then decided to keep going.
Me
Not
neither.
once. I could probably, if I were to count how many times I have set goals and dieted, probably 20 times in my life, 30 times, 40 times. And never, ever have I gotten to the end and decided to keep going.
Yeah, me the same. Like, my life was constant dieting, but uh, it will finish like you start Monday and then it's Friday and you say, maybe I will start again next Monday. And, I would never see that light at the end of the tunnel. And finally I do. So, like, it's like, it, honestly, it's like feeling a human being for the first time in my life because I was totally controlled by food, totally obsessed. It doesn't matter if I was eating like junk food or not, but my mind would be always there. So my workouts would be always there. So even my social life would be suffering because it would be something like I first go running, then I can go out, or I can eat this and this and this, or uh, you know, then I eat. Okay, I need to see where is the toilet because I can't just hold that food down. It came to the point where I couldn't hold any food I would eat because I would just feel so guilty and so unwell, and so yeah. So I definitely reached the bottom. And yes, I was in therapy for a long time. None of the therapists, I would say, really worked. And I said myself, especially when I moved to London in 2015, that I need to find the way out of this myself because, like, nobody can help me. It's just me. I don't really know exactly where it started my eating disorders from. Like, nothing dramatic or traumatic ever happened in my life. Like, we all have some childhood traumas, I believe there's nobody who doesn't have any, right? But nothing really that I can remember, can recall happened. And so I don't know where it started exactly and why it started. And for years and years and years, I was just, digging and trying to understand through hypnosis, through, meditations, yoga, retreats, seminars, therapy, counseling, reading books. And just now, finally, I understand that probably majority of that struggle was because I was so undernourished and my brain was lacking of main nutrients. And the minute I started eating more fats and meat, it's just suddenly most of the problems just disappeared. Like, I hope they will not come back. But for the last 160 plus days, I didn't do, anything else apart of changing my diet. And I kept working out as I was working out. I kept walking as I was walking. I'm doing the same job I was doing. Nothing else has changed, just my diet. And finally, I started seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, who has eating disorders and who has never had eating disorders? Like, you can't really understand what that means. So, just a person who is in the same ship knows what exactly is happening and how energy consuming and how I don't even know how to explain how uh, like it's just somebody possesses you and consumes you from the inside out. And I was feeling like I got better. So for the last several years, physically I got better, but mentally, every time I will finish eating, I would still have that idea. Oh, I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling unworthy. Why I ate. Uh, and it was there. But then suddenly, within the first 30 days of carnivore, all those thoughts disappeared. I don't have them anymore. So for somebody who may be listening and struggles with this and has never tried carnivore, I would say it changed my life massively. That's why I don't want to go back. I don't want to risk to cheat because it's just not worth it. Because if I come back to be where I was, it's just not worth living in that way.
Uh, it's so true, and I think it's important for people to understand that it's not just like these diagnosed eating disorders, right? It's not just somebody who has a problem with binge eating or somebody who just has a problem with not eating enough. It's as simple, and so I use myself as an example because I've always had the willpower to choose my diet, right? Which is one reason I didn't think carnivore was going to be tough for me to start, because like I'm used to that. Like I always took pride in being able to control my diet down to the macro when others couldn't. Like that was like a sense of pride in me. So even though I wouldn't classify myself as that, like there's still a part of me where I still had to plan my day around my meals, right?
Mm.
So let's say somebody's like, hey, well, let's do something at 10 o'clock in the morning. I would have to do mental math and be like, okay, so if I wake up at 6, probably got to eat by 7. Man, I'm probably going to want to eat before because I don't know when I'm going to be able to eat again. So probably eat something quick before 9, but I don't want to eat too much because I don't want to feel bad. And so like I would have to schedule my entire day around when I would eat my food, because the absolute worst thing that could happen is let's say I go on a hike, I'm out on a hike, I'm 2 miles in, 2 hours into a hike, and then I realize I haven't eaten enough food. And now if I don't eat in the next 45 minutes or an hour, I'm going to start to get shaky and I'm going to start to like feel off kilter. And then it's just going to be a bad time because I don't have access to food. And so is that an eating disorder? I wouldn't classify it as an eating disorder, but still my life had to revolve around food, whether I liked it or not. Like I had to be able to plan it all out. And now, like I'm not people like to take extremes on this. I'm not saying you don't ever have to plan your food. But what I'm saying now is if I normally eat at 9 o'clock and I don't eat till 12 o'clock, it's not that big of a deal. Like there's nothing in between that 9 and 12 o'clock window where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm dying. I got to get food. I got to get food. I'll eat. And then, I'll eat again when I'm hungry. I don't know when I'm going to eat next. I ate 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago, and I don't feel hungry. And I'm not thinking about when I'm going to eat next. When I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. And if I eat right when I'm hungry, perfect. If I eat an hour after I get hungry, that's fine.
Mm.
It's not a big deal. And I don't have to plan my entire day around when I'm going to have food available, because it's going to be a bad time if I don't plan that properly. Like that's what I really try to get to people is you don't have to have a eating disorder. You don't have to recognize that you're addicted to food. It's just the simple understanding that before my life revolved around food, good or bad, It revolved around food. And now it's so much less of a fixation that you can think about other things and you can focus on other things. And it's that weight that's lifted off your shoulders.
Totally agree. And I remember when I used to be vegan, vegetarian, I would eat at least those 3 times a day. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I would have multiple snacks in between, and I would still feel hungry all the time. Now I skip breakfast. I'm just not hungry in the morning at all. Before, I used to get up in the morning and think, oh, I need to eat. I need to eat something. Now I'm not hungry at all. So normally I would eat between 1 and 3 will be my lunch, and then between 7 and 8, like 6 and 8, would be my dinner. So I normally do intermittent fasting, so I eat them in those 6 hours time frame. And or sometimes I eat only dinner, or sometimes I eat only lunch, and I feel totally fine. And I feel that finally, for the first time in my life, I am in control. Not the food that is in control of me, but I'm in control. So I eat to live, and not that I live to eat. And that, like, used to be 38 years of my life, basically, since I can remember. I used to live to eat and counting minutes and hours until my next meal, especially when I used to restrict calories massively and work out a lot. And yes, I would be constantly hungry and constantly miserable.
That, that's the best statement you like for anybody who is not on carnivore or is struggling through carnivore. It's like you're in control. And I'll touch on the people who think it's crazy to only eat once or twice a day. I was that person, even on carnivore. And it wasn't until recently. So I've been, most people know I'm pretty strict carnivore, but I would eat some fruits and honey. And during that time, a little over a year, never once could I only eat once or twice a day. Never. Because again, I would still get those points where I'm like, I gotta eat. Like I'm starting to get a little, low
Because
on
fruits
the
are
fuel
really
tank, and I
sweet,
gotta
really nice.
recharge. Yeah, and now since I've started strict carnivore, just beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and I don't even eat bacon every day. So it's literally like beef and butter
Mm.
and eggs most days. I can eat, and I'm not hungry. Like I'm not hungry until 11 o'clock. Or maybe I'm hungry at 9 o'clock and I eat at 9 o'clock, and then I eat again at 2 o'clock, and then I'm not hungry the rest of the day. And then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I guess I could eat. Like it's so crazy. I never would have been that person. I could have told you, I would have fought you tooth and nail that I would never be an OMAD or, a TMAD, 2 meals a day type person. And now I honestly, it's very rare for me to eat more than 2 meals a day just because I'm not hungry. And the amount of food I eat during the meals is enough to keep me going. And if I'm not hungry, I don't eat. Like it's really that simple. And it's hard to explain to people who've never done that. But that is, exactly what you're saying. You now finally have the power over food, and you're eating to survive. Like you're eating because if I don't, I'm probably going to die. So I should probably eat. And it's not the other way around where it's like, man, so if I'm good today and I'm good tomorrow, then I can have that chocolate on Thursday. And then I got that thing on Friday, so I'll cheat on Friday. Let's just scrap the whole weekend and then we'll start over again on Monday.
Yeah. I don't even want to cheat anymore. And I would add, your dishes, every time I see them on Instagram, they make me hungry. Like all those steaks, all those meats, they look amazing. So I don't know who wouldn't like to eat them. Another thing that
I
carnivore
appreciate that.
made me do, since I started doing carnivore, I started doing also cold showers every morning. So it's winter now in UK, right? And it's very uncomfortable. You really need to to remember that. So every time I finish my shower, I just turn the hot water completely and I stand under that cold water for 1 minute. And that is also amazing. And I believe that if it's not carnivore, I probably would have never done this. And cold water, we all know that it's good for your mood, for your immune system, for like skin elasticity, and it has a lot of amazing benefits. So yeah, that is another thing that's so constantly something new is coming out. I'm discovering new things, new recipes as well. Trying putting like combinations of ingredients together, like you do as well in your posts. So it's yes, you eat 5 ingredients, I would say, but it's not that you can't make a variety of foods out of them, because there is still plenty of recipes you can do from those 5 ingredients. Or even like the cake I made for my mum's birthday, I still made it from cream and eggs, and it was pretty delicious cake. So yes, it's a lot of elimination, but that elimination, especially for me, it just gave me so much that I would say my life has changed and shifted 360 degrees from where I used to be and where I am, physically and mentally, mostly.
Yeah, I completely agree. And anybody who's on the fence, like, do what Laura does, give it 30 days. That's the craziest thing to me, is because most diets that you are going to do, you are looking for long-term results, right? It very rarely is somebody like, I'm going to try I'm going to call it radical because it's radically different than a standard Western diet. Very rarely does somebody go, I just need to lose about 5 or 6 pounds, maybe 10 pounds. So I'm going to choose this radical diet and I'll accomplish my goal in 30 days. It's very rarely that. And so the idea that somebody just needs to give it 30 days, and if you feel terrible, then like reevaluate. Like, nobody is saying that you have to do 6 months of being absolutely miserable to see any results. But 30 days has been, almost everybody I've talked to, it's like within 30 days you start to see enough and you feel good enough that you want to continue. And anybody can do anything for 30 days. I'm
Yeah.
telling you right now, you can do anything for 30 days. Give it 30 days, read up, research, follow some people, follow Laura, check out her videos for when because I remember all your posts, like, this is day, doing it, I feel pretty good. And then like it literally just shifted. And all of a sudden it's like, I'm full on carnivore and there's no going back. Like, you started out running a 5K and you end up running a marathon.
Exactly. And what is funny, after like those 30, 45 days, people started saying, oh, like something has changed in you. You look different. You look like younger. You look more radiating. Your skin looks brighter. Like, what do you do? Like, people who doesn't know that I changed my diet, but oh, like, you lost weight. You look great. You've like your hair is so shiny. Like, I started getting lots and lots of compliments, and yeah, even myself, I started realizing, yeah, my skin is looking better. My hair is looking better. Everything is just looking brighter. And yes, I couldn't imagine myself saying, "Oh, I'm gonna do this for 6 months or 1 year," but 30 days was something that my sugar and carb addicted brain could say, yes, I can commit to 30 days. It was kind of, I promised to my sister as well that I'm going to do it. And look where I am now. And because, yeah, after those 30 days finish, you just don't want to look back and do not don't want to come back to where you started, because the feeling and the transformation is just amazing. And yes, I haven't lost a lot of weight, and yes, I would like still to lose a little bit more. Like my BMI right now is 26, so I'm not obese or I'm not fat, but I know that I have some extra kilos that I would like to get rid of. But like that is the last thing that I'm worried about right now, because my
Yeah, for sure.
mental well-being and everything else is just much more important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I really, really appreciate you being on, Laura. For anybody listening that wants to find your stuff, follow along, what social media platforms are you on?
So I'm on Instagram, vegan turned carnivore, and I'm also on YouTube with the same name. So I'm still planning to share a little bit more of my story. I still, I guess, need to take a little bit more confidence with the audience and me talking to the camera, because I'm not used to that. So it's still, I would say, pretty uncomfortable. But looking backwards, 160 days ago, I wouldn't have done that at all. So it's a big step ahead. So yeah, just follow me, and I guess step by step, day by day, I will say more and more what has changed, and we'll go to those rooms that I'm still not really ready to open yet, the doors. But I guess
Absolutely.
if
I
it
highly
helps
recommend.
me, it can help a lot of other people as well, who I'm pretty sure can relate to my story a lot, and especially in the times we're living with so much processed food and so much, body positivity stuff, and Instagram, and social media, where everybody just see distorted images of everything and everyone. It's very easy to fall in the darkness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you being on, Laura. Guys, go give her a follow, like the channel, like the episode, leave a review. Really appreciate everybody hanging out with us, and see you guys next time.